In less than 30 days, the answers to all your important questions will be there right in front of your face. But in the meantime, we've still got some work to do. Welcome as we continue the march to the TVG Breeders' Cup Mile, along with the Sergeant Nick Hines. I am Ken Rudolph. It's time to take a look at the TVG Mile division, and it has been kind of turned upside down a little bit in what's happened in the past 7 days, with a lot of races having taken place.
Well, the turnip truck may have hit a little bimp in the bye, but for what it's worth, for Goldakova, well, I don't think she has all that much to prove, despite coming off of a disappointing run. She was drawn ineffectively to the outside, a race that perhaps from a distance perspective really wasn't up to her standards. But I wouldn't be one that I'd get off the cart just yet.
Well, that's the beauty of the preps leading up to a big day like World Thoroughbred Championship Day. Is like any little bump in the road gives the other contenders just that little sliver of hope that makes them believe, maybe I can get to the champion this year. Let's go ahead and take another shot at it. And that's what they're going to be doing coming up in 30 days. Well, they're going to be trying to go one of the toughest distances. It's the mile over the turf course in the TVG Breeders' Cup Mile this year. The Grade 1 event worth $2 million has a division that is very interesting from top to bottom. Let's take a look at the weekly poll as week number 6 and take a look at who's on top and who's trying to make their way on up. Lord Shanakil is one of the European contenders trying to make their way on through. Gennady, of course, Colonel John sticks in the mix there with Courageous Cat and Jacinto. I do believe that horse was in a field that ran behind See the Stars. So obviously you get a lot of support for that. Same thing with Delegator. And then, of course, who stays on top? Despite the performance in the most recent race, Goldakova maintains her spot atop the division.
Well, I won't mention where that one vote for Just Enough Humor came from, but I can tell you he does not deserve to slip down the ladder.
Take a look at what happened with Goldakova, the defending champion in the TVG Breeders' Cup Mile, running in the 7-furlong Prix de la Forêt, and this is not necessarily her distance. And you mentioned that earlier, going 7 furlongs for her. They just want to use it to kind of tighten her up and get her ready for that next test. And she's able to unleash that kick, but it's a little bit too late, and she's not able to reel in the leaders when they get home.
Well, she had entered off 3 straight Group 1 victories, and there were some that may have critiqued the ride here. But again, drawn to the outside, I think she needed to be aggressive to where she put herself into play. But that's, to me, not her style. I think she's better suited to where she makes that kind of that whirl about 5/16 of a mile run. We saw that electrifying turn of foot last year. I think she and Ventura, I think it kind of went both ways as far as who had the most impressive victory on the day. Take nothing away from what Midnight Loot had done.
Yeah, exactly, because he had to go and get Fatal Bullet, and that was a tough.
But she was electric in that win last year, and I don't really feel as if she's lost a step, and maybe we'll get that much more value on her.
Maybe. Right. Now we head back into our weekly discussion about the TVG Breeders' Cup Mile division, and now we got to go to an expert. Long-time insider and senior correspondent at the Blood Horse magazine. It's Steve Haskin on the line with us. Steve, you're on with myself, Ken Rudolph, and Nick Hines. Are you there?
Hey, guys. How you doing? There are no experts.
Come on. You qualify. You've been wrong enough to be an expert right now, right? Isn't that what it says? Always good to talk to you, sir. I appreciate your time. Let's start talking about the very important contender in the TVG Breeders' Cup Mile division. Everything centers around Goldakova. She runs third in her most recent performance. Is that a concern at all, or do you think she's still the one to beat?
Oh, she's definitely the one to beat. I mean, that race was just a throwout race that just sharpened her up. First off, if you saw where she broke from, she was practically on the outside fence. 7 furlongs in Longchamp is a very, very tricky distance. They had to rush her up there, and she was way too close to the pace, and she wound up inheriting the lead way too soon. She had nothing to run at. As you remember from last year's Breeders' Cup, she needs something to run at. She's got that incredible burst of speed. When these kind of horses get the lead, you ask them, and they can accelerate, but without anything to run at, you don't have that explosive burst. And, she kicked on, but 2 fillies came and just nailed her at the wire. But going back to a mile in the Breeders' Cup, I expect to see the same Goldakova we saw last year.
Now, Steve, as I look at your top 10, and please correct me if I'm wrong, didn't the number 2 and 3 contenders, did they come out of the Master Craftsman race, or did they come out of the See the Stars race?
Neither. They came out of the Queen Elizabeth with.
That's the separate one.
Rip Van Winkle.
Rip Van Winkle, thank you. That's the other big horse.
Jacinto, I mean, he's probably one of the most improved horses in Europe right now. He's getting really, really good, and he came very close to. He put quite a scare in Rip Van Winkle. And the horse that finished third in the race was Delegator, who Godolphin bought early in the year. and he won the he won the Celebration Mile earlier. He couldn't match these two, but he's definitely coming over to giving him another shot. So he's still a very good horse. So, between Goldacova, Zacinto, and Delicator, just those three Europeans alone are going to make it a very formidable challenge.
Thank you for correcting me. I need to get that information. But looking at your top 10 and seeing at contenders near the bottom, do you think that some of the stateside sprinters are really up against it, like Mr. Sydney, who I think is outstanding at a mile, and Battle of Hastings, who I'm not sure if a mile is long enough for him? What do you make of his chances?
Well, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because Mr. Sydney and Battle of Hastings and two other horses in that race, Just Enough Humor and Corellian, these are horses that actually have not been running at a mile and are dropping back to a mile. And those four horses combined have won 11 of their 14 starts at a mile on the turf. So whatever they've been doing, they should be much better at a mile, because that's shown that that's their best distance. And it's basically the same thing in the Oak Tree. You've got three horses, Cowboy Cal, What's the Script, and Polonius. They haven't been running at a mile either, and they've won 8 of their 11 starts at a mile on the turf. So Saturday is going to be a very, very telling day to see how these top-class horses do when they come back to a mile, which supposedly is their favorite distance.
Yeah, it's always going to be interesting. I'm looking at a contender like Cowboy Cal, who's used to going a lot further than a mile. Horses like these horses are tweener horses. I call Cowboy Cal. Do you think he fits in the mile division, or should he be going longer?
He's probably better going longer, but I don't think they've really used the speed that he has. But he has run well at a mile, and I think that because there's going to be a lot of pace in the mile, he'll probably lay just off the pace. I don't think he's at his best when he's setting the pace. I think he's best as a stalker. He's run 2 good races. He's just run into a monster in Just Enough Humor, who's a very, very good horse. And he's a horse who comes from way out of it. So it'll be interesting to see what he does dropping back to a mile. But Cowboy Cal, he's tough. He can run on any kind of surface. He's run well on the pro ride. And I think he's got the natural speed to do well at a mile. So I'm looking for him to run a big race on Saturday.
Yeah, that race is going to be very interesting, the Oak Tree Mile. It seems like a lot of folks are just waiting for the old What's the Script to show up. And we haven't seen him in a while. But it seems like a mile would be perfect for him as well, but he just can't seem to get back into his form. You think he's going to return this weekend?
Well, he better return this weekend, because this is his last big test. He's going to have to get back to the form that he showed in the mile last year, which everybody knows he ran a terrific race last year. So he really needs to do something here. He needs to be closing at the end and be right there. He doesn't necessarily have to win. But, we got some new horses in there that we don't know about. This Argentinian horse, Sky Rush, who looked like he was in very good form in Argentina and won his only start here. And, of course, you got Monterey Jazz, who has all the speed. And all I can say is, wow, very classy filly who ran second against the Colts in the Del Mar Mile. So it's going to be a very contentious race.
Well, one other horse, the other Argentinian, Mr. Haskett, after a pair of main track starts, Global Hunter returning to the turf for the first time since that July 25th win in the Eddie Reed when he starts this weekend. Any thoughts of him perhaps being the wild card play here?
Yeah, I don't know what this horse wants to do. I mean, they run him at a mile and an eighth. He wins the Eddie Reed, then they come right back 2 weeks later, drop him into a sprint race against Sensational, then they run him at a mile and a quarter. So you talk about a tweener, as they say. We don't even know what this horse wants to do. You would think if you take his race in the sprint and you take his race in the Eddie Reed and you put something in between, you've got a mile. So if he returns back to the Eddie Reed form, I think he showed in the against Sensational that he does have the natural speed. So I definitely put him in the mix here.